It's hard to tell. To me, she sealed her fate when she called her dudes employers. You just can't do that.
Very, very, very stupid.
Right. Yeah. That would be my vote, but I don't know. We'll see. The never-ending saga.
Firewall over here.
I mean, it'll be like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Reality to sink in.
Well, the funny thing, I was going to call you afterwards, either way, or if she got voted out, to kind of see what the process was of will the board make an appointment temporarily or
Council, well, then you get 5 minutes.
which they want. Okay. Well, that's right. I remember they had one and the former guy had to replace, right? It went so long. Yeah.
You pick Nancy.
Right. Yeah. And then there went to be just the next cycle, regular election, and is that person?
This person will be appointed for the year.
Okay.
And then next November, her seat's up.
Right. We'll see. She's the last of the crazy. They used to have a couple of crazies. They're not as much as they used to be. Since they got rid of the crazy mayor. They used to be. Oh yeah. There used to be 5 hours.
The November 5th City of Vandalia Council meeting will now come to order. We will have a moment of reflection, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Would you please stand?
Did we reflect first?
Oh! We're all standing. I'm sorry, boy. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Everybody was paying more attention to what we were doing than I was. We will now have a moment of reflection. Thank you. Council members, you do have in front of you the minutes from the following meetings. The council study session minutes of October the 15th, the council meeting minutes of October the 15th, the council budget workshop minutes of October the 22nd, the council budget workshop minutes of October the 23rd, the council special meeting minutes of October the 29th, and the council special meeting minutes of October the 30th. Are there any adjustments to those? Seeing none, they'll stand approved. We have no communications, petitions, or awards this evening, nor do we have any public hearings. And that brings us to comments from interested citizens. So if there's anyone in our audience who would like to make comment to council, would you please come to the podium, state your name and address for our records, and then your comment. Seeing none, we'll go on to the city manager's report. We have no information items this evening. However, we do have an action item. Mr. Cruzy.
Thank you, Your Honor. So we have received an application from the Ohio Division of Liquor Control for a change of corporate stock ownership for the Ruby Tuesdays at 6425 Miller Lane. The Vandalia Police Department does not oppose the proposed change in ownership.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
Your Honor, I'll move that we not request an ODLC hearing for the transfer at Ruby Tuesday, 6425 Miller Lane.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilman Lewis, second by Councilwoman Fars, that we do not ask for a hearing for change of corporate stock ownership for the Ruby Tuesdays with their liquor application. Any comments? Seeing none, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Blakesley,
Yes.
Councilmember Gerhardt,
Yes.
Councilmember Fairst,
Yes.
Councilmember Lewis,
Yes.
Councilmember Ehlers,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Herbst,
Yes.
Mayor Setzer.
Yes, and the motion passes 7-0. We have a resolution this evening, and that is 18-R-69. Mr. McDonald.
A resolution approving a financial contribution to the Vandalia Development Corporation.
Thank you. Mr. Cruzy.
Thank you, Your Honor. So City Council did appropriate $100,000 in 2018 for donations to the Vandalia Development Corporation. The VDC is requesting that council donate the remaining $50,000 at this time in support of 2 grant approvals.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
Your Honor, I move that we approve Resolution 18-R-69 as presented.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilman Lewis, second by Councilman Gerhardt, that we do approve Resolution 18-R-69 as presented. Are there any comments? Seeing none, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Gerhardt,
Yes.
Councilmember Fairst,
Yes.
Councilmember Lewis,
Yes.
Councilmember Ehlers,
Yes.
Councilmember Blakesley,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Herbst,
Yes.
Mayor Setzer.
Yes, and the motion passes 7-0. Resolution 18-R-70. Mr. McDonald.
A resolution approving the Hopeland Church plat.
Thank you. Mr. Cruz.
Thank you, Your Honor. So this resolution would approve the replat of 6025 and 6025 Miller Lane and 3131 Stop 8 Road. This replat of 9.044 acres proposes to dedicate 1.062 acres of right-of-way and create 3 new parcels. There is an existing church on the proposed parcel at the corner of Miller Lane and Stop 8 Road, an existing single-family residence on Stop 8 Road. Due to the dedication of right-of-way, both of these properties will require variances from the required front yard setback. A request has also been submitted to rezone the property along Miller Lane from residential single-family 1 to highway business. The Planning Commission reviewed this plat at its August 28th meeting, voted 4-0 to recommend approval, subject to the rezoning request being approved.
Thank you very much. Is there a motion?
I move that we approve the Resolution 18-R-70 as presented.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilwoman Farr, second by Councilman Ehlers, that we do approve Resolution 18-R-70 as presented. Are there any questions or comments? Would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Fairst,
Yes. Yes.
Councilmember Lewis,
Yes.
Councilmember Ehlers,
Yes.
Councilmember Blakesley,
Yes.
Councilmember Gerhardt, Vice Mayor Herbst,
Yes.
Mayor Setzer.
Yes, and the motion passes 7-0. We have one ordinance this evening in the first reading, and that's ordinance 18-24. Mr. McDonald.
An ordinance to make appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Vandalia, Ohio during the calendar year ending December 31, 2019.
Thank you very much. Mr. Cruzy.
Thank you, Your Honor. So this ordinance would adopt the 2019 appropriation budget for the City of Vandalia. City Council did conduct 2 budget review workshops to review and discuss the proposed budget and receive presentations from department directors on the respective operating and capital budgets.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
Your Honor, I move that we approve ordinance 18-24 in its first reading.
Second.
It's been moved by Vice Mayor Herbst, second by Councilman Blakesley, that we do approve ordinance 18-24 in its first reading. Any comments? Would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Lewis,
Yes.
Councilmember Ehlers,
Yes.
Councilmember Blakesley,
Yes.
Councilmember Gerhardt,
Yes.
Councilmember Fairst,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Herbst,
Yes.
Mayor Setzer.
Yes, and the motion carries 7-0. We have an ordinance in its second reading this evening, and that's 18-22. Mr. McDonald.
An ordinance rezoning the property generally located at the northwest corner of Miller Lane and Stop 8 Road from residential single-family 1 to highway business and amending the zoning map of the city.
Thank you. Mr. Cruzy.
Thank you, Your Honor. Again, so Hopeland Church is requesting to rezone 8.2825 acres at the northwest corner of Miller Lane and Stop 8 Road from residential single-family to highway business. The property currently contains a church along Miller Lane. The subject parcels do not have a future land use map designation. However, adjacent properties are projected for commercial and office development. The site is bounded by Highway Business District zoning to the north, east, and west. The development of this site will be regulated by the Miller-Benchwood Redevelopment Overlay District. A replat has been submitted that proposes to establish 3 lots and dedicate right-of-way. The Planning Commission reviewed this request at its August 28th meeting. It voted 4-0 to recommend approval, subject to the replat being approved.
Thank you. Since this is an ordinance in its second reading, I will open up a public hearing. So if there's anyone who wants to make comment about this ordinance, would you please come to the podium, state your name and address for our records, and then your comment. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and ask for a motion.
Make a motion that we approve ordinance 18-22 in second reading.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilman Blakesley, second by Councilman Gerhardt, that we do approve ordinance 18-22 in its second reading. Are there any comments? Would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Ehlers,
Yes.
Councilmember Blakesley,
Yes.
Councilmember Gerhardt,
Yes.
Councilmember Fairst,
Yes.
Councilmember Lewis,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Herbst,
Yes.
Mayor Stetcher.
Yes, and the motion passes 7-0. We have an emergency ordinance this evening, and that's ordinance 18-23. Mr. McDonald.
An ordinance to revise appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Vandalia, Montgomery County, Ohio, during the calendar year ending December 31, 2018, and amending Ordinance 17-30 and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Mr. Cruzy.
Thank you, Your Honor. This ordinance would amend 2018 appropriations as follows. In the general fund, an additional $45,000 for additional legal expenses related to negotiations, zoning issues, and litigation. In the street fund, an additional $30,000. This is for unexpected repair expenses for traffic control devices, guardrails, and fences due to traffic accidents. The majority of these expenses will be reimbursed by private insurance companies or the city's insurance company. In the capital improvement fund, an additional $8,200. And this is for additional expenses related to the boiler replacement at Castle Hills Pool. And in the police, fire, and street CIP fund, an additional $12,100. This is to account for expenses for the purchase of protective hoods and gloves in the fire department. This is going to be offset by a grant from the Bureau of Workers' Compensation's Firefighter Exposure to Environmental Elements Grant.
Thank you. Since this is an emergency ordinance, I will open up public hearing. So if there's anyone in the audience who would like to make comment, would you please come to the podium, state your name and address for our records, and your comment. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and ask for a motion.
I move that we approve ordinance 18-23 as an emergency.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilman Ehlers, second by Vice Mayor Herbst, that we approve emergency ordinance 18-23 as presented. Are there any comments? Would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Blakesley,
Yes.
Councilmember Gerhardt,
Yes.
Councilmember Fairst,
Yes.
Councilmember Lewis,
Yes.
Councilmember Ehlers,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Herbst,
Yes.
Mayor Stetzer.
Yes, and the motion passes 7-0. We have reports from boards and commissions this evening, and there's a variance request for the front yard setback at 3131 Stop 8 Road. Mr. Cruzy.
Thank you, Your Honor. So Hopeland Church is requesting a variance to allow a 40-foot front yard setback where a minimum of 50 feet is required for a single-family residence in the residential single-family district at 3131 Stop 8 Road. So Hopeland Church has submitted a replat that would dedicate right-of-way and create 3 lots. Again, one of those lots would contain this house at 3131 Stop 8 Road. Because the dedication of right-of-way, which again is being required by the city, this residence will not meet the required front yard setback. The Board of Zoning Appeals reviewed this variance request at its September 26 meeting, and they voted 3-0 to recommend approval, subject to the following conditions. One, that the accompanied front yard setback variance at 6025 Miller Lane is approved, and 2, that the accompanying rezoning and replat at 6025 Miller Lane and 3131 Stop 8 Road is approved.
Bless you.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
Your Honor, I move that we approve the variance of front yard setback at 3131 Stop 8 Road.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilman Lewis, second by Councilman Blakesley, that we do approve the variance request at 3131 Stop 8 Road for a front yard setback. Any comments? Would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Gerhardt?
Yes.
Councilmember Fairst?
Yes.
Councilmember Lewis?
Yes.
Councilmember Ayers?
Yes.
Councilmember Blakesley?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Herbst?
Yes.
Mayor Setzer?
Yes, and the motion passes 7-0. We have a variance request for 6025 Miller Lane for a front yard setback. Mr. Cruzy.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is the exact same set of circumstances and the exact same conditions. In this case, again, it's the property at 6025 Miller Lane. Hopeland Church is requesting a variance to allow a 35-foot front yard setback where the minimum required setback is 40 feet. Again, and this is due to our requirement that they dedicate right-of-way as part of their plat.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
Your Honor, I move that we approve the variance of the front yard setback at 6025 Miller Lane.
Second.
It's been moved by Vice Mayor Herbst, second by Councilman Blakesley, that we do approve the front yard setback at 6025 Miller Lane. Any comments? Would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Fairst?
Yes.
Councilmember Lewis?
Yes.
Councilmember Ayers?
Yes.
Councilmember Blakesley?
Yes.
Councilmember Gerhardt?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Herbst?
Yes.
Mayor Setzer?
Yes, and the motion passes 7-0. We also have a variance request at 268 Allenhurst Avenue. Mr. Cruzy?
Thank you, Your Honor. So the applicant is requesting a variance to allow a 6-foot-high wooden fence with a supporting post on the side facing the exterior of the property at 268 Allenhurst. The applicant received a permit on August 28th, which clearly states that the structural supports and posts must be located on the side facing the interior of the property. In this instance, the subject fence is adjacent to the neighbor's fence with about a 2 to 3 foot separation. The BZA reviewed this request at its October 10 meeting and voted 3-1 to recommend approval.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
I move that we approve the fence variance on 268 Allenhurst Avenue as presented.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilman Ayler, second by Councilman Gerhardt, that we do approve the variance request at 268 Allenhurst Avenue as presented. Are there any comments?
I have one or an observation. It was clear to the contractor when he drew the permit that the posts have to be on the interior. And indeed, the rest of the fence is set up that way. So from that standpoint, and to be consistent, I would generally deny the variance. However, I'm going to vote in favor of the variance in this instance, principally because the extenuating circumstances is those two fences are up against each other. And in looking at it, while the principle of being consistent is a good one, in this case, I feel like not to grant the variance is just being punitive in nature and that our zoning code isn't designed for that. And I don't believe that the existence of this variance will affect anybody, at least in the relatively long near term. It's not visible by anybody unless you climb up over the fence and look at it. So for that reason, I'm going to vote for the variance.
Anyone else? Seeing no other comments, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Lewis?
Yes.
Councilmember Ayers?
Yes.
Councilmember Blakesley?
Yes.
Councilmember Gerhardt?
Yes.
Councilmember Fairst?
No. No.
Vice Mayor Herbst?
No.
Mayor Setzer?
No, and the motion passes 4-3. You have also the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board draft minutes of October the 17th, as well as the Vandalia Cultural Arts Committee draft minutes of October the 17th. Are there any questions about those? Seeing none, we'll proceed to council comments, starting with Mr. McDonald. Mr. Cruzy?
Nothing this evening, Your Honor.
Councilwoman Nurse?
Not this evening, thank you.
Councilman Lewis?
No, thank you.
Councilman Ayers?
None tonight, thank you.
Councilman Gerhardt?
No comment, thanks.
Councilman Blakesley?
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Vice Mayor Herbst?
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Mayor Setzer? Yes, I have some. Okay. For many, many years, Cal McDonald, and I think all of us here remember, when he would come and invite everybody to the Veterans Day program, which is going to be held at the Sports Complex on Sunday, the November 11th at 11 a.m. So carrying on his reminder to us all. I'd also like to ask our city manager, Mr. Cruzy, to bring us all up to date with what we've been discussing and so forth with our traffic and where we are headed. And you might even want to review some of the things that we've done, if you will, please.
Yeah, this has been going on probably the last year and a half, 2 years, some of the things we've done. You know, one of the things we've done is we went out and met with businesses out at the west end of town, those in the city and out of the city, that we know are responsible for a lot of the truck traffic through town. Try to encourage them to have their trucks take an alternate route, specifically Airport Access Road, I-70, I-75, and not come through town, National Road, US 40, to get onto I-75. So we have reached out to those companies. We also, we hired an engineering firm to do a truck study, and part of that was for them to determine through traffic counts the number of trucks that are traveling through town at different intersections. And I think in some respects, the origin and destination of those trucks, are those trucks stopping in town or are they traveling through town? And so we use that information again, and part of that information we used when we went out and talked to those businesses. And the result of that was some of the signs that you see up around town, specifically at Airport Access Road and National Road, encouraging and directing trucks to take the Airport Access Road rather than come through town, as well as the signs that you'll see near Northwoods Boulevard and Dixie Drive, as well as I-75 and Northwoods and in and around the Flying J. And the other result of that study was the prohibition of right-hand turns from Dixie Drive onto National Road. Part of that engineering analysis determined that it was not safe for trucks to make right-hand turns. There just isn't sufficient room. And finally, the police department is doing increased enforcement on National Road, specifically west of Dixie, out towards the Airport Access Road, but they're also doing increased enforcement on Dixie Drive as well. They've also been in contact with the Ohio Highway Patrol for their commercial enforcement division, and they've been in town frequently over the last 4 or 5 months, again doing commercial truck enforcement as well. So,
anything else?
That's it for now.
Training of our police officers related to commercial enforcement.
Yeah, I apologize. Yeah, again, we have several officers that have received commercial vehicle enforcement training, and we've got, I think they're going to have a class coming up sometime this month where we're going to get several more officers trained on the specifics of the commercial vehicle ordinances.
Very good. I'm going to ask for an executive session, and the purpose of the executive session is to consider the employment and compensation of a public employee, more specifically matters relating to the city manager.
So moved.
Second.
Wait a minute. Whoa. Okay, it's been moved by Councilman Lewis, second by Vice Mayor Herbst, that we do go into executive session. Will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Ehlers?
Yes.
Councilmember Blakesley?
Yes.
Councilmember Gerhardt?
Yes.
Councilmember Farce?
Yes.
Councilmember Lewis?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Herbst?
Yes.
Mayor Setzer?
Yes, and the motion passes, and we will now go into executive session and return for us to reconvene our meeting. Thank you, everybody.
I was. Just quick picture. Group picture of council. Yes. Man, we're playing a little bit better. Our offensive line sucks. Oh, that's good. You want it back here? Just like in this area here. Yeah.
for a second.
Oh, it's okay.
No, come on.
And then when you get to,
Hurry up, Louis. I want to be closer to Richard. Let's help you. All right. Let's put Dave, get stand right next to the mayor if you don't mind. Richard, this way a little bit. There we go. Oh my gosh, you're. This minute says it's slim. Thank you very much. Wow.
I didn't even hear it.
Wow. So we're gonna be firing Cindy tonight. Sorry.
4511 is where it's set.
When the other people take that other fence down, they're gonna have the same problem.
It's all over the city, there's always fences back to each other.
Well, not only that, but they're gonna have the same problem if indeed it was too small to get behind it. Now you're putting it on to them to put their fence in further.